5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just kidding. Welcome, good morning. Welcome to another session of Hope at the Lunchtime Hour. I hope that you have a great morning so far. Hope you bring in some friends and hopefully you bring in some family. I try to make this 10 minutes of power, baby. Not a power hour. I don't think we have attention spans like that anymore in our busy days. However, and today's message is one of my favorites. I love this one. It's actually chapter 2 of my new book, right? Hope works. Hope you get it. Hope you get it. Hope works. Trying to get this camera right. Hope works. Moving from darkness into your dream. So it's all about the dreams, baby. If you don't have dreams, what do you have? I mean, you're sitting around here trying to make great things happen, and making great things happen, sometimes we let them slip to the side. Like yesterday we talked about the round to it. Today we talk about one of my most favorite topics, which is time is a villain, right? Oh, hey Sandra, how are you? Welcome aboard. I'm so happy to have you on here. My friend Sandra Edwards here, she's kicking off her own radio show. Sandra, if you want to go ahead and pop up the information there, I want to make sure that you get a nice following. She's incredible, the words and the knowledge that she likes to spit out here in the public forum. But today we're talking about time as a villain, and hope is a hero. Typically, when we talk about time, time will heal all pain. Time will make all the wounds go away. Time heals. We hear all these positive things, which I think is really important. And there's no two ways about that. The idea that time heals, but I think that we really put that in the wrong place, because I do think, oh, hey, what's up, Jason? Hey, nice to see you. I think that really time doesn't heal anything. I think in our lifetime, we will remember the things that hurt us. We'll remember the things that lift us up. As a matter of fact, when we think of time, we have a major problem, right? We think of time in terms of a capitalist enterprise, which is time is money. And if time is money, then really what we're looking at is time is linear, right? It goes from noon to 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, etc., all the way to midnight, then 1, 2, 3, all the way back to noon. So every minute leads to an hour, every hour leads to a day. And that linear type of thinking really kind of distorts exactly what really happens to us, because the fact of the matter is we can't remember anything that happens from one moment to the next. But what we do remember are the moments in our lives, right? You remember when your child was born. You remember when you fell in love the first time. I still remember my first kiss. I don't even know if she's on here, but she's friends with me on Facebook. And it was a remarkable thing because it was the first time. I can even tell you where it was. It was in the most southern tip of Canada, Point Pelee. And the person is still friends with mine, a friend of mine. She's amazing. I remember the moment. I can't tell you what day it was. I think it was in the spring, but I can't even tell you that anymore. So if we think in terms of linearity, we tend to think in terms of things happening one thing after another. But the problem is with that is that you could also look at time as cyclical. If you look at it from a different cultural perspective, we would certainly find that there's a lot of cultures that think time happens in cycles. As a matter of fact, it is possible, and I was just talking to a lovely woman. Every morning I have my conversation with God, and I get up and I take a walk and we have our conversation. And there's this nice lady. She's about 83 years old. Her name is Joy. And this morning, I saw her yesterday, and she said, hey, why don't you meet me tomorrow at 6 a.m.? I said, terrific. She said, let's walk with me. I have a gift for you. And she has a book that she gave me that was given to her that was written by her husband. And the amazing thing about this in particular is that while we sat and talked, all these people that had different impacts on her life and his life converged in one place, right? So when we start to think about who we are and what we are, we're not linear at all. We're actually very fluid, right? So if we think of ourselves in terms of being fluid, all those impacts from all those different people are with us today. So what we really are is we are not in linear time. That's just a cultural construction. What we really are is we're the amalgamation and the combination of all the people that have led up to making us who we are today, right? So our history with all these different people make us and define us now. But in terms of doing that, every time we come in contact with somebody else, we have an impact on the future. So what does that really mean? That means that everything happens in the current moment, right? The past and the future happens in the current moment. So if we start to talk about pain, I mean, come on, baby. We've all lost something, right? In time, I've lost friends, right? I've lost them to health. I've lost them to death. I've lost them to suicide. I've lost them to homicide. I've lost contact with them. You know, I've lost my money. I've lost people I've dated. I've lost lovers. I've lost, you name it. I've lost it. But that doesn't mean that they're not still with me. And every single time that we come in contact with somebody else, what we're doing is we're pushing off on them something that we retained from the past. So when we take a look at time heals all pains, I don't think that's the way to look at it. Because the fact of the matter is that, as some of you know, I had, especially if you read the book Dear Mama, my first book, you know that there were moments where I had a pretty rough upbringing. A lot of threats of physical violence, certainly emotional and psychological. And for me to say that time has healed those pains is not true, because the nature of my current relationships are often shaped by what took place back there. So when I really think in terms of time and time heals all pain, I think it would be a lot more interesting to take a look at time helps us manage the pain better. Because if we think it disappears, then we're really losing track of the sense that we are beings who are shaped by all the phenomena that shape our life. Instead, if we say, okay, this is what happened, how do I manage that? How do I incorporate that into my behavioral repertoire? How do I make that into something that is a little bit better for others? How can I make someone else's pain a little bit lighter because I had to go through this particular type of situation? I take a look at it and I say, if we start to redefine the cultural ethos in which we live, if we start to define the way in which time operates differently, the interesting thing is that if we do that, then what's going to happen is the way we see other people, if we see other people in a different light, rather than these cultural constructions based upon race, rather than these cultural constructions based upon social class, sexual orientation, a place of origin, if we stop looking at people in terms of that, because that linearity is defined to create boundaries between us. And honestly, if we take a look at what's happening in terms of the economic market, then something amazing is happening. It's transforming in front of our eyes. I had a nice long conversation this morning with a man who used to work for State Street Banking Research, and it's a firm out of Boston, fantastic firm. And what they were saying was, exactly, thank you, Sandra, exactly, when loved ones physically transition, but the spirit is still with us, it's always with us, right? And what he was saying is that potentially we're looking at a financial crisis that rivals 2008. Right? In other words, there's an expectation that inflation is going to go up, housing market is going to pop again, and we're sitting here like, we're wounded ducks getting ready to get slaughtered because we're not giving alternatives as to what to look for. So therefore, here's how I think we manage time. Rather than managing time as linear, what happens is that when we do that, we start to find that we have regrets in our life, correct? I regret that I didn't ask her out. I regret that I didn't ask him out. I regret that I didn't go to school. I regret that I didn't try harder in school. I regret that I didn't stretch myself. I regret that I didn't take that job. I regret that she and I broke up. I regret that he and I broke up. Regret, 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 regret. And the reason why we have these regrets is because time is a villain. It steals from us ambition. And it steals from it because over time, when you continue to try harder and harder and harder, and you seem to come up short, at a certain point, that's when frustration sets in, right? We start to feel this sense of frustration, and when that happens, here's what else happens. The next step after frustration is alienation, right? We're living in an economic time where there's alienation all around us, and how do I know it? I know it because I can see the anger in the streets. I can see the anger in the protests. I can see the anger from the police. I can see the anger from the citizens. I can see people angry because the stimulus check hasn't come yet. I see people angry because others won't agree with them as to what the stimulus check should look like. There's anger because we have people coming in taking our jobs. We have anger because jobs are leaving. We have anger because AI is taking our jobs. We have anger, but here's what we're doing. We're playing the cultural game of time. And that's what the problem is. Right? Regret is based upon what should have happened linearly in the past. With that mindset, you're destined for failure, whether it's emotional, psychological, physical, or spiritual. How do you get it back? Here's how you get it back. Time should be your friend. And what you do is you manage the bad things. You manage the good things and understand that there are two parts of the same coin. And when we understand that the bad and the good are still part of one uniformity, then what we have is this opportunity to start our life today. There's no reason to have regret, but there's a lot of reasons to say today is the day that the Lord has made. Today is the day that I stand up and make a difference. Today is the first day of the rest of my life. Today is the last day of the rest of my life. Why? Because the past and the present live now. And therefore, if you're trying to make a beautiful life, because there's greatness sitting inside of all of you, then you have to understand that the time isn't right later. The time isn't right yesterday. The time is right now. Darlene, who's Marie? Anyhow, thanks for hopping on here. I hope that makes sense because, you know, I look around. I see a lot of students who are wondering, what does the future look like? What should I do? You know, and then I have students from the past, linearly, who are calling me saying, you know, I can't find a job, I can't do this, I can't do this. And I think part of it is that we put so much time or pressure on ourselves to do things in a certain space of time that we forget to look inside at what is important within us. In other words, if we developed an as-is state, here's who I am, here's what I am, and this is what it is right now, right here, today, right, a present moment consciousness. Once we have a present moment consciousness, then we know that greatness starts right where you stand. If you're standing in the water, then your feet are wet. If you're standing in the sand, then your feet are nasty, covered in sand, right? Because I'm not a Bigfoot person. But if you're standing on a rock, that's where you are. You can't wish to stand in the water if you're on the rock, so you start on the rock, right? And what you do is you start to make your days matter. Develop your habits, redefine your relationships, and as you do so, there is so much power and beauty in the present. And even more importantly, if you think of this in terms of spirituality and relationally, if you look at it like that, when you focus on finding your greatness from where you stand today, all those people, past and present, live and deceased, are with you, right? It's just like Maya Angelou said, right? I may have had many clouds, but I've had a lot of rainbows. And there are rainbows in the clouds. And in our lifetime, really our job is to be a rainbow for somebody else. And sometimes, what does that mean? You take the wisdom from the people in your past and you pass it to the people in your future, and therefore we connect one another as one. Therefore, we don't have to hate each other over arbitrary and capricious boundaries that don't exist in and of themselves except what we create. Hate is unnecessary. Because if we start to look at the fact that we're connected, right, through a spiritual whole, baby, you will find in a matter of moments that your life can transform. But you are the one who has to make that decision. Time is a villain. Hope is your hero. Hope you enjoyed our little discussion today. I went over by 3 minutes. And Sandra, thank you for your participation. Darlene, thank you for hopping on here. Jason, my main man, Rivera, thank you for hopping on here. We'll have more tomorrow. Are we doing this tomorrow? I have to check my schedule. Definitely Friday, because I know I have to do a live stream for one of my classes. But stay tuned, because I'm going to be bringing it. I'm going to be bringing it every single day. Anyhow, I love y'all. Have a great day. The link, I'm going to put up the link in Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. Please share it with other people. We got a job to do. We're hope warriors, and we bring hope to people. Thank you for joining in. I'll see you tomorrow, or at least on Friday. Have a great